السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على حضرة سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا، زدنا علما يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا أكرم الأكرمين. أما بعد, so Alhamdulillah, we continue inshallah the series of the revealed supplications, the du'as that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to us in the Quran through the words of the prophets. And tonight's inshallah the dua that we'll go through is a dua of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. It's of last night's recitation from Surah Taha. This is the dua that Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam made before he faced Fir'aun. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Sayyidina Musa to engage Fir'aun in terms of da'wah, call Fir'aun to Islam, call Fir'aun to believe. So Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, aside from the request that he made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking him to have Sayyidina Harun to his side in this endeavor, he made a dua, a personal dua. And this is the dua that we'll go through. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam did not make the dua. He said, "Oh Allah, I'll be facing Fir'aun, so grant me strength over Fir'aun, grant me power, make me strong in the eyes of Fir'aun." He made a dua not about winning, not about overpowering Fir'aun. He is about to engage in calling the most tyrant individual on the face of the earth. And he makes a dua about himself, not about the one that he's about to call. He said, قَالَ رَبِّي اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Oh Allah, expand my chest, meaning my spiritual chest. And I'll come to explain that in a bit. قَالَ رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Oh Allah, expand my chest, meaning my spiritual chest. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. And grant me ease in my endeavor. قَالَ رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Imam al-Razi asked a brilliant question, and he, alhamdulillah, provided an answer for it. Why does a prophet like Sayyidina Musa ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand his chest? Isn't his chest already expanded? Why would he ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand his chest? He's a messenger, and he is of ulul azm min ar-rusul, of those the highest tier of messengers, highest ranks of messengers. Why would he ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand his chest? And it's a very relevant question, because prophets and messengers, they have perfected their spirituality. Every prophet and messenger in their time, they're the most perfect man on the face of the earth. So the most perfect man is saying at his time, he's saying, "Rabbi shrah li sadri." Oh Allah, expand my chest. So Imam al-Razi provides an answer. He said, because Sayyidina Musa, he is Sayyidina Musa, he's prophet and messenger, his chest, his spiritual chest, is filled with gnosis of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and continuous and perpetual witnessing of the beauty of Allah azza wa jalla. So his chest has no space to engage with the creation. His chest is fully towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the Creator. And now that he will face this tyrant, he has to be present in that moment with Fir'aun to call him to Iman. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand his chest so that as he engaged Fir'aun, the perpetual witnessing of the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not cease. That's the meaning that Imam al-Razi provided for Rabbi shrah li sadri. So if someone asks you, how come a prophet is asking for expansion of chest? This is the answer. A prophet and a messenger is always in a continuous witnessing of Allah. And because he wanted to be present with Fir'aun in the moment of calling him to Iman and calling him to Islam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand his chest so that it would encompass both. Being present with the creation while also being present with the Creator. It's the meaning of Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Now, something that Imam Ibn Ajiba from the Shadhili order provided in his tafsir that is absolutely beautiful. He said, well, this was for Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. How does this apply to every single individual? It's not necessarily that every single Muslim will get an opportunity to face the Fir'aun of the time to call him to Islam, or to call him to Iman, or to call him to piety and righteousness. So how would this ayah, how this dua, how would this context be applicable to each and every Muslim? So Sayyid Ibn Ajiba radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says, each individual, their Fir'aun is their ego, is their lower self. That's your Fir'aun. So as you face your lower self, as you face your ego, you say, Rabbi shrah li sadri, oh Allah, expand my chest. Because the ego causes constriction, like Fir'aun. So you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you face your ego, when you do accountability before you go to sleep, the ego, the lower self, it escapes accountability. It doesn't surrender, it doesn't concede. You tell it, you did this wrong. Yeah, but he started. He deserved it. So that's a moment that you need an expanded chest. Say, Rabbi shrah li sadri. And yassir li amri, because without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making that confrontation with the lower self easy, no one would ever be able to overcome their lower self. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to grant you this facilitation so that you can overcome your lower self. You don't beat your lower self on your own. You don't overcome it on your own. You overcome it when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for you to overcome your lower self. So this is a dua. Whilst it was the context in which it was revealed in, it was Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam facing Fir'aun. We can, each and every one of us can apply it as we face our own Fir'auns, the Fir'auns that are within ourselves, the tyrants that we face every day, our egos and our lower selves. Lastly, I want to come back to the point that I started with. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, again, reflect on this. He didn't make the dua about Fir'aun. He made the dua for himself as he was about to face Fir'aun. Think about this with every challenge, with every difficulty, any kind of obstacle that you face. Sayyidina Musa made the dua for him, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for himself, that Allah would expand his chest so that it would encompass that difficulty. It can overcome that difficulty by the vastness of the spiritual chest. And then by the facilitation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand our spiritual chest and to ease all of our affairs. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.